Barakah Allah Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Ba'ashem Rakak Wadash Brakatha Yahweh Brakatha Yahushai Brakatha Yahweh Brakatha Yahushai. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well through the Spirit. Almighty Shalom to the hopeful elect, scattered four corners of the earth in the same Spirit, the one that they all can continue to endure and be sincere. And Shalom to the Akwat Yam that are believers of the faith and the truth. The one that you can continue to pursue your lot, which is being a loving and silent and virtuous wife. Lord willing, the Most High have mercy on the other brothers and sisters that is not in the faith. Today we're going to get into the digital Inquisition. We had moments in our past of inquisitions, but this great prophecy is going to come to pass, and you must get yourself ready for it. People want to know why brothers are always bringing out prophecies. Why are they always teaching in the name? And I am confident and proud to say, humbly speaking, that the Lord put a spirit on the elder apostles and the elders and the bishops and the men of Great Millstone to constantly push those things so that the sheep that are actually watching can reflect and say the name of the Lord and get themselves ready for the coming of Yahushai. But prophecies must be fulfilled. So when you go into the name Inquisition, it has different multiple meanings. So I'm going to give some of them. It says a period of prolonged and intensive questioning or investigations. Pope George the 6th, I believe, or the 7th, 1232 for the suppression of heresy. It was active chiefly in northern Italy and southern France, becoming notorious for the use of torture, right? For the use of torture. Now, I got another meaning for it, where the Inquisition as a noun, in the past, an official organization in a Roman Catholic Church whose purpose was to find and punish people who oppose its belief. When you look at it in a biblical sense, it can also refer to carefully examining or examination into circumstances or conditions without official authority. But in a sense of this being a prophecy going to Revelation the 13th chapter and other verses that we can go to in the history of the children of Israel, we were getting it in a negative way, right? Actually, let me... Okay, how about we look up this one? When you look at Inquisition in a negative way, the Inquisition could torture you until you give in, and then they will execute you anyway as an example, right? You have what were the negative effects of Inquisition? Let's see. It says in between the 16th and 19th century, the poor, more religious, less educated, and exhibit a lower trust. I guess that's who it was pointed to, right? You have other ones where it says a deep or searching inquiry, right? So again, for the negative sake that we went to, they looked at it as a torture. And when you can see in the picture, we got the phone, but you have a so-called Edomite that is spread out and being stretched. That is a form of inquisition. So now let's get into these precepts. And again, Lord willing, this is edifying. So when you go into 1 Maccabees, the 2nd chapter, in verse 50 and 51, It says, now therefore, my sons, be ye zealous for the law, and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers. Call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time. So shall ye receive great honor and an everlasting name. Right? So you have to know nothing really matters on this side. Right? This world means nothing. We don't want to be friends of the world, because then we're considered enemies of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. When this system falls and they're pushing this new system to show that you are a citizen, or you cooperate with their system and their belief, if you believe in Yahweh Shem Yahushai, you're automatically going against that. And we're going to have some beautiful scriptures to show you, serving the Lord, you're going to have to suffer. Now, yes, we're suffering because we're in captivity, but even in the case of us getting the kingdom and Yahushua coming, we're going to suffer, because this beast is going to afflict the righteous. This ministry haven't got a physical affliction. When the famine of the word come, that is going to be affliction of the ministry, because now we're moved from the corners. Then it's going to escalate more and more and more. Then you'll even have your own foes of your family that's going to be pointing you out to officials. And this happened in past tense too. Look at Peter. When Yahushua was taken in front of the priests for the council, people seen Peter and said, hey, wasn't you with him too? And Peter said no. Imagine if he said yes, he would be taken too. Right? So let's go to Sirach, the 4th chapter, in verse 28. It says, strive for the truth until death, and Yahweh Shemashai shall fight for thee. Just imagine all the innocent blood that been shed, especially for, Jake, that was either slowly coming in the truth, however the Lord was dealing with him. Their blood is crying out to Yahweh Shem Yahushai. How much even more for, the men and the women that are seriously in this truth, and they die for Yahweh Shem Yahushai. The Lord is coming back with wrath and vengeance. When we see in some of these precepts that we're going to bring out, that everything is being recorded. So anybody dying in this faith, dying for this faith, it is being recorded and documented, right? So especially with Esau, mark your days, man. Mark your days. So for the children, the men and women, the sisters, the brothers, the mothers of Yahushai, right? Lord willing, you're striving in this thing until death. This is a marriage. Until death does its part. You're in this until death. You're in this until you get beamed up, right? Some of us might taste death, like what Yahushai said, and some of us, a few of us won't, right? Maybe a few of us might taste death, and some of us won't, right? Because when Yahushua comes, is he going to find faith on the earth? Yes, by the elect that is in the earth, following him coming to the earth with the elect that was in the spirit world. So I want to go to 1 Peter chapter 3 in verse 14 and 15. It says, and if ye suffer for righteousness' sake, happy are ye, and be not afraid of their terror, neither be troubled. But sanctify Yahweh Shemashai power in your hearts, your mind, and be ready always to give to give an answer to every man that asketh you a reason of the hope that is in you with meekness and fear. Right? So even when you're brought in front of the synagogue or these chief houses, FEMA camp, however they're going to be doing this thing, don't fear what man can do to you, but fear what Yahweh Shem Shai gonna do. Because if you buckle under pressure, it's done on your butt. As soon as you take that charagma, that MOTB, you're done. But for the ones that are serious about this, every day is leading up to when it comes to you being in the synagogue or those chief houses where they're gonna ask you a question, and that spirit is gonna dwell in you, and you're going to bring forth these words. and you're going to say these things in confidence, you know? So again, you know, but in if ye suffer for righteousness' sake, happy are ye, and be not afraid of their terror. And we're gonna see in the book of the Maccabees where people were happy to die for Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, let alone the other believers, so that they know which direction they should be walking. Right? Be willing to give up your life for this thing and stand for Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. You know, you want to stand for who, the one you're trying to understand, right? A lot of us didn't understand Jesus' role, right? And when that day come, a lot of people are going to change and start saying Yahweh, Yahweh Shai, because there's power in that name, right? So now let's go over to the next chapter, chapter 4. So 1 Peter 4:16, it says, if any man suffer as a Christian, you know, a follower of Yahweh Shai, let him not be ashamed, but let him glorify God on this behalf. Right? Glory in Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. And if you suffer for Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, that is the best thing on earth. That's the best that we got. And the Lord is seeing you suffer these things, man. And it's going to hit you when you're in those moments where you're going to be thinking of scriptures. You're going to be thinking of the men of the Lord. You're going to be thinking of Daniel. What if they put you in a jail cell, right? Because you was teaching on the highways and byways, or you kept saying Hebrew Israelite, however it is. You're going to be in that prison house with a smile in the spirit, man. You're going to still be stern. You're going to still be thinking of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, but you're happy shall he be that suffer for Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai's sake. Let's go back over to 1 Peter 3 and let's read verse 17. All right. Let me read 16 and 17. It says, having a good conscience, that whereas they speak evil of you, as of evildoers, they may be ashamed that falsely accuse your good conversation in Hamashiach. For it is better, if the will of God be so, that ye suffer for well-doing than for evil-doing. And you're going to see some that suffer for evil. When you look at Yahweh Shai, when he was on that cross, right, it was two people, one on the left, one on the right. The one on the right technically asked him, when you go to your place, when you go into paradise, remember me, right? Forgive me for what I have done. He confessed his sins in the face of Yahweh Shai, and he told him, you're going to be there with me. This is the example of letting you know that even a murderer or a robber, even like Paul, that you can come in this faith, and because it's already predetermined in the spirit world. A lot of us lived filthy lives before we came in this truth. Either a day, 2 weeks, or a month, a year before you get in this truth, right? The Lord is already calling you. And whatever you was doing in your past life, you get to look back and say, dang, the Lord, that's favor. That's grace. The Lord had favor and chose you for this. And just because you come in this truth is a bigger task. Is you willing to lose your life for this? You know what? I might use that for the title, right? Is you willing to lose your life for this? So this is second Maccabees, the 6th chapter. Salaki, I'm getting a little too excited. This is second Maccabees chapter 6, and I'm reading verse 18 to 20. Verse 18 to... I'm gonna read 18 to 20 in the G&T. It says, there was an elderly and highly respected teacher of the law by the name Eleazar, whose mouth was being forced open to make him eat pork, but he preferred an honorable death rather than a life of disgrace. So he spit out the meat and went willingly to the place of torture. He willingly went to the place of torture, showing how people should have courage to refuse unclean food, even if it costs them their lives. right? And this is when we're actually under the new covenant. Yahweh Shai is not in effect yet, right? But now we're in a time where Yahweh Shai is in effect. Esau is putting pork in multiple things without you even knowing, unless you're looking it up. I'm just saying this to clear it up because we're in a new age. They're forcing pork in you and your children in these certain products, these certain pricks that you're getting in your arm. Most of them have pork. Some of your brush, your toothbrush, your wave brush, they're putting pork in a lot of things that we use, candy, chips. So on this side, instead of it being pork forced on you, it's going to be their new system, right? Their new system, their new image, and then that new device, which is going to be the MOTB, right? The mark of the beast, right? Which is a charagma, a prick, right? Or a grain of rice, an electrical device, so that they can actually monitor the citizens in the world. They want total control, right? Where they can see what you got, see your spending habits. That's full control. And we see it in certain movies like Timeless. The elites want total control, right? And this goes all the way back to Antiochus. So now let's go to 2nd Esdras real quick before we even keep reading. Let's go to 2nd Esdras, the 16th chapter, and let's read 67 and 68. It says, "Behold, God himself is the judge. Fear him, leave all from your sins, and forget your iniquities, to meddle no more with them forever. So shall God lead you forth and deliver you from all trouble. For behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, and they shall take away certain of you, and feed you, being idle with things offered unto idols," right? And really, because this is going to be in that time, right, in between the MOTB and Jacob's trouble, but really that new idol, because this is speaking of old, it's going to be an MOTB, right? And of course, that idol goes back into us following or worshiping the image or the beast. The image is the New World Order, and the beast is Rome, right? The Roman Catholic Church, right? Everything that stems with Esau, right? That is the beast. So when you take this device, you're obeying, you're worshiping. Oh, I can't go without them. You're basically putting them over Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai when you take this device. Even before this device, what we do now shows who we fully putting our trust in. So everything that I explained during the time of the Maccabees, when he was forced with pork, and the time that we in now, we're going to be forced to take this new system. This goes into this idol. The new system in Revelation, the 13th chapter, is the beast, the image, and then the mark, right? The MARK, the physical device that they're going to put in you to have more control, which goes into the digital Inquisition, right? So you're going to be investigated. It's going to be mandated, right? Some people might be in that predicament as one of the elect and asked to take it, and they don't take it, which we're going to get a verse right now on it. Let's go to Revelations, because this is how it's going to be implemented. Revelations 13, 16, and 18. 16 to 18. It says, "He calls of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead." So this is high, low, four corners of the whole earth, right? It didn't just say one part. This beast wants total control in the whole earth, right? Verse 17, it says, "And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of the beast." So what we'll do is we'll just go to the blue letter and hear, let's just hear the blue letter say the word charagma, right? Let's let, Yahweh be true and every man a liar. So when we go into this word mark in verse 16, In verse 17, in order for us to buy and sell, we need this so-called charagma. So G5480.
Strong's G 5480. Charagma.
So with this charagma it is the biblical usage, a stamp or an imprinted mark. This imprinted mark is going to be a physical inserted device, which when you go back to Revelations 13, verse 18, it says, "Here is wisdom, let him that have understand count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666." So when you go into a mark, right, of the mark stamped on the forehead or the right hand as a badge of the followers of the Antichrist, the mark branded upon horses. And most horses have a tracking device inserted in them, right? Thing carved, sculpture, or graven work. And even in old time, they will put a badge of servitude, a mark, by burning a metal rod and printing it on your skin. You know, Jake, we have a lot of that in history, even in the Greek captivity, right? The northern captivity, right? When Judah came over here, a lot of nations were branding people. Even when you look at, what's his name? I'm always watching Spartacus. You know, they had to be branded to be gladiators, right? So as a badge of servitude, so this charagma is going to be a badge of servitude to who? To what? The beast, the image, and this mark shows, right? It's really all three, right? The beast, the image, and the charagma. But if you already taken the charagma, regardless if you think F the government, it's going to be Jake that got that mindset and think, you know what, I just got to provide. I'm going to just take it to provide. But as soon as you take it, you already fulfill all the other two, you know? So I read verse 16, 17, and 18, but let's get into this number 666, which people just look at it as a number. This is charagma. This is high size stigma. So let's get it.
Strong's G 5516. Chai, Xi, stigma. Chai, Xi, stigma.
So when you go to the etymology.com, and you can go look this up even for yourself. Etymology.com, and look up the word stigma, S-T-I-G-M-A, and it's a noun, stigma, mark made on skin by burning with a hot iron. And they did this in the past tense, past life. Spartacus, even in slavery, when you ran away or you was a good-looking slave and they didn't want you to get bought by another Edomite, they would brand you. But we're living in the time of technology is the face or the miracles Esau used on this side. We can see it in their movies, especially when you hyphen the name Tony Starks. When you watch, I think the second one or the third one, Tony Starks got Elon Musk in there. And the number one thing that's talked about is humanoid robots or cars that can drive by themselves, or Neuralinks, so on and so on. The things that we watch in the movie, Esau wants to actually implement that in real life, right? So we're not living in the time, it doesn't matter. They still can brand you with a physical, a physical weapon, but it's going to be an inserted physical mark for you to buy and sell, right? Another meaning for it, a mark of a pointed instrument, puncture, tattoo mark, a brand, a mark. When you go from pi root stig goes into the word stick or pointed. And when you go into that word prick or stick, Where is that? When you go into the word stick, it would tell you, it says to pierce or puncture, to stab with a weapon, right? So the device that they use to put this device in your hand or your forehead is going to prick or puncture your skin, right? Whenever, even when they go to the doctors and they got to put the vaccine shot in you for the flu, they got to prick you, they got to puncture through your skin, right? So for the ones that can understand, you can get it. You ain't got to like keep punching it. So you go to Revelations, that is them implementing it. Revelations 13, 16 to 18, they're implementing this mark. Yo, you got to follow the beast, worship the image, and take this charagma, right? That's them implementing it. Now, after they implement it, this is Revelations 20 and 4. This did not happen yet. This did not happen yet. B-O-W. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them and judged. Was given unto them, and I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushai, the record or the testimony of Yahushai, and for the word of God, which had not worshipped the image, have not worshipped the beast, which is really talking about this Edomite system, this kingdom or this political power, which is Rome 2.0, right? Neither his image, which goes into the New World Order, neither had received the mark, that charagma, upon their foreheads or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with the Mashiach 1,000 years. So that has to take place before, the elect is dwelling with Yahushai. But before we continue, this is a vision John the Revelator, he's seen the beast in Revelation 13 implementing, forcing people, hey, you got to take this, da-da-da-da. And in chapter 20, he's seeing people that didn't take it and stood up for the testimony of Yahushai and the word of the Heavenly Father. They didn't worship the beast, neither the damn image, and they did not receive that charagma. John the Revelator is seeing it. Just like when you go to 2nd Ezra chapter 2, and Ezra is seeing in his vision that the angel is allowing him to see the elect getting crowned by Yahushai. And that's a vision he's seen, and we're going to actually be in that vision. Just like Joseph. And if you read the Bible, these examples. When you look at Joseph in the time of, the 12 tribes, when Joseph told his brothers and his father the sheaf that he was on raised high and their sheaf was very low, and they were saying, oh, you're going to be over me or over us? They didn't understand, but that was a vision, which was truly a prophecy the Lord was speaking to Joseph about. And then it came to pass when they came to get grain, because it was a famine in the land, and he was a governor, the second in charge out of all people that were Egyptians. So he had a vision. So John the Revelator had a vision, 2nd Ezra, and many, many others. And a lot of these things haven't been fulfilled. So the vision he's seen in 13, they're implementing it. Revelations 20, this is the end result. If you don't take it, you're going to be put to death. And Yahushua said, let's actually look this up real quick. Many won't see death until Yahushua returns. Right, let's look that up. Probably wrote it incorrectly. Let's get it. I think this is the one we want. Matthew 16 and 28. But let's read verse 26 to 28. So this is Matthew 16, starting at verse 26. It says, for what is a man profit if he shall gain the whole world and lose his whole soul? Right? This even makes the lesson even better, because when it comes to this digital Inquisition, what's the point? gaining the world, gaining this damn charagma, and you're going to lose your own soul. You're going to be a two. Soon as you take it, soon as you take the thought of taking it and you actually do, you're a 2/3. It says, well, what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? You can't. So you take, it's no way. It says, for the Son of Man shall come in his glory of his of his Father with his angels, and then he shall reward every man according to his works. Verily I say unto you, there be some standing here which shall not taste death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. Right? Every Israelite, right, talking about the elect, is not going to taste death on this side until the coming of Yahweh Shai. Especially, getting a new body, a twinkling of an eye, right, in that new resurrection. But some are going to taste death even more for faith, right? Because this is a faith-based ministry. What we do, if I was to go into the spirit world, everything I did, for the ministry for Yahweh Shem Shai, and the sheep seen it, they're going to continue to take the steps instead of dwelling, oh no, yeah, of course they're going to cry. But if that person was faithful in this thing all the way till their death, that's going to move other believers to stay on their course, So now, since we got that, let's go to Psalms real quick. Psalms 50:4. So this is Psalms chapter 50 and verse 4. It says, he shall call to the heavens from above and to the earth that he may judge. Salaki. That is not the one I wanted. Salaki. 56:4. Yeah, that was sounding super different. This is Psalms 56:4. It says, in God I will praise his word. In God I have put my trust. I will not fear what flesh can do unto me. Right? So what lines with that? You go to Matthew, the 10th chapter, in verse 28, and it says, and fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Really, we should be fearing Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, right? Why? Because say if you say, you know what, hey, it's just a digital device, I got to feed my kids and my family. Technically, you got that mindset of Esau. Forget that birthright. What am I going to do with it? This is Revelations chapter 14 and verse 9 and 10. It says, the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of his holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. Right? That brimstone is America being destroyed and Israel being destroyed. America is going to be a lake of fire, symbolic to Sodom and Gomorrah, but it's going to be a whole lake. All 50 states is going to be gone. Right? And when it say in the presence of his angels, even the elect are angels. Because if they get beamed up, they're angels, man. Angels is messengers, right? But and even in the presence of Hamashiach Yahushai, right? You're going to be seen from the elect, and that the heavenly host are going to see you getting your ass burnt because you chose to make excuses and actually not fear the Lord and actually take what a man can do. You're more afraid of the flesh, Lord willing, Yahweh Shema Shai don't put that spirit on us, So now let's go back to 2 Maccabees, the 6th chapter. And since we read verse 18 to 20, now let's read verse 21 to 23. It says, no, let me read 20 again. It says, but he preferred an honorable death rather than a life of disgrace. So he spit out the meat and went willingly to the place of torture, showing how people should have courage to refuse unclean food, even if it cost them their lives. Right? This is talking about unclean food, and now we're talking about this digital device. Come on, it's no better, no better, right? So this is an example. Romans 15:4. The things that were written for our learning. You got to take this and learn from it and apply it within your time when that time comes. Now, verse 21, it says, those in charge of the sacrifice had been friends with Eleazar for a long time. Because of this friendship, they told him privately to bring meat that was lawful for him to eat. He need only pretend to eat the pork. They said, in this way, he should not be put to death. What if, when they ask you to take it, hey, why don't you just act like, what if you see a worker, somebody you know that's working for the government, somebody you know, and you and Jake, and they're like, man, I know you. Why don't you just act like you took it? You know what I'm saying? Hey, even acting like you eating pork is going off, right? Verse 23, but Eleazar made a decision worthy of his gray hair and advanced age. All his life he had lived in perfect obedience to God's holy law. So he replied, kill me here and now. Let that sink in your Abdul Ablagata. Right? He replied unto them, kill me here and now. Call law Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. Lord willing, these words, will be put into your heart, into your mind in that time. Now you can continue reading in that chapter. I just wanted to get certain points. So now we're going to flip to the next chapter. Then we're going to go to the last point in this chapter. And then I'm going to let you guys go. So this is 2 Maccabees, the 7th chapter. And when you go into this in the GNT, it's a mother and her sons die for their faith. And the 7 of her sons she's seeing be put to death because they truly had faith in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. That right there is going to show us that we have faith in the Lord, let alone these little things that we doing in this ministry. Now, verse 1, it says, on another occasion, a Jew mother, it's saying Jewish, but it's a Jew mother, and her 7 sons were arrested. The king was having them beaten to force them to eat pork. Then one of the young men said, what do you hope to gain by doing this? We would rather die than abandon the traditions of our ancestors. This made the king so furious that he gave orders for huge pans and skillets to be heated red hot, and it was done immediately. Then he told his men to cut off the tongue of the one who had spoken, and to scalp him and chop off his hands and feet, while his mother and his 6 brothers looked on. After the young men, look, they had to endure even watching. Man, after the young man had been reduced to a helpless mass of breathing flesh, the king gave orders for him to be carried out and thrown into one of the pans. As a cloud of smoke streamed up from the pan, the brothers and their mother encouraged one another to die bravely, saying, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai power is looking on and understands our suffering. Moses made this clear when he wrote a song condemning those who had abandoned the Lord. He said, the Lord will have mercy on those who serve him. After the first brother had died in this way, the soldiers started amusing themselves with the second one by tearing the hair and skin from his head. Then they asked him, now will you eat this pork, or do you want us to chop off your hands and feet one by one? He replied in his native language. What is his native language? Hebrew, ancient Hebrew. That is his native tongue. It says, I will never eat it. So the soldiers tortured him, just as they had the first one. But with his dying breath, he cried out to the king, you butcher, you may kill us, but the king of the universe will raise us from the dead and give us eternal life because we have obeyed his laws. The soldiers began entertaining themselves with the third brother. When he was ordered to stick out his tongue, he quickly did so. Then he bravely held out his hands and encouragingly said, God gave these to me, but his laws mean more to me than my hands. And I know God will give them back to me again. The king and those with him were amazed at his courage and at his willingness to suffer. Now, by the grace, the favor of Yahweh Shema Shai, we're able to rehearse that law. Israel we were punished a lot because of we didn't follow the laws of the Lord. And you had some that still did, especially when you go back to the beginning of First Maccabees, right? There's a lot that was in the first covenant, especially if there's certain things that you didn't do, you had to be put to death. We're in a time now because Yahweh Shai laid his life for us. We're able to freely rehearse the righteous acts because the law is your heritage, is your heirloom, right? Given down to descendant after descendant. Every time a man has a son or a daughter, he teach them the law, how to be a woman, how to be a man, a woman's menstrual cycle. We can't say the law done away with because a woman still has a menstrual cycle. A woman still have birth, having a son or a daughter. And if you love the Lord, you're going to do things that's pleasing unto him. But mainly, Yahweh oversees the law, which means oversee means he has authority over you than the law. The law was given by Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Even Yahweh Shai was given, right? But he is the physical authority over us. So by faith, we have to believe and trust in him and walk as he walked. If he had no guile, he was righteous, he did no sin, that means he didn't transgress the law. He naturally did it because he was full of obedience to the Father and he didn't care about this flesh or the things of this world. So symbolically, how they're following the law, we have to the best of our ability, follow the law, right? Step by step. But when this time of Jacob's trouble come, it's not really, you're going to be so scared. Your mindset, let alone if you believe in the Lord is going to provide the food for you. If you were the world, you're going to eat a hog. You're going to most likely eat your children or eat this or eat some food that somebody ate and just left it. It's going to be real bad. Right? I'm going to read 13 and 14 and then we'll drop down. Like I said, you could probably continue reading the chapter. It's seven sons and then the mother. So verse 13, it says, after he died, the soldiers tortured the fourth. So we're on the fourth one. So that means you got 3 more left you can read about. So after he died, the soldiers tortured the fourth one in the same cruel way. But his final words were, I am glad to die at your hands, because we have the assurance that God will raise us up from the dead. From the dead. But there will be no resurrection to life for you, Antiochus. Right? This is history. So now we're going to drop down to this last point and close. Drop it down to verse 30 and we're going to read to verse 42. It says, before she could finish speaking, the boy said, King Antiochus, what are you waiting for? I refuse to obey your orders. This goes back to us bringing out this digital Inquisition. Right? You refuse to follow this beast, worship the image, and take his mark. I only obey the commands in the law which Moses gave to our ancestors. You have thought up all kinds of cruel things to do to our people, but you want to escape the punishment that God has in store for you. It is true that our living Lord is angry with us and is making us suffer, right? In order to get this kingdom, we must suffer because what we have done. No other nation can get these benefits. This is another indicator. No nation is getting the benefit of Yahushai because what we have done. How can an Edomite if the law wasn't given to him? That's him just naturally being wicked in all these other nations. But the law was given to us. We're held accountable because it was given unto us. So the living Lord is angry with us and making us suffer because of our sins. Why he didn't say to other nations? In order to correct and discipline us. All of this is a correction and discipline. But this will only last a short while, for we are still his servants, and he will forgive us. But you are the cruelest and most disgusting thing that ever lived. And he's an Edomite. So this is really symbolic to all Esau. And even though King Antiochus is a ruler, this even more hits for the elites, right? You like a lot of y'all don't really know a lot of things that they're doing behind the scenes, what we have in our face every day, you know. But let's keep on going. Verse 35, it says, 34, but you are the cruelest and most disgusting thing that ever lived. So don't fool yourselves with illusions of greatness while you punish God's people. There is no way for you to escape punishment at the hands of the Almighty and all-seeing God. My brothers suffer briefly because of our faithfulness to God's covenant, right? This was all a purpose for the Lord, just for our sakes in this time, right? They suffer briefly because of our faithfulness to God's covenant, but now they have entered eternal life. But you will fall under God's judgment and be punished as you deserve for your arrogance. I now give up my body and my life for the law of our ancestors, just as my brothers did. But I also beg God to show mercy to his people quickly and to torture you until you are forced to acknowledge that he alone is God. May my brothers and I be the last to suffer the anger of the Almighty, which he has justly brought upon our entire nation. Right? And he's really speaking in the spirit, but just like when you go to Acts, the first chapter, you had even apostles thinking that was the time that the Lord might restore the kingdom. But we had a fourth beast after the Greek captivity, which was the third beast in Daniel, the 7th chapter, that wasn't fulfilled. And then after the third, the fourth beast was going to fall and he was going to rise again. Right? And so we're in this fourth beast, which is technically the horn, you know. Verse 39, it says, these words of ridicule made Antiochus so furious that he had the boy tortured even more cruelly than his brothers. And through the spirit, you think of Pharaoh. The Lord hardened his heart even more because he tortured this son even more cruelly than his brothers, right? And so the boy died with absolute trust in Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, never unfaithful for a minute. That's how we got to be. Practice that. Meditate on that. Never unfaithful for a minute. Work on your faith now, so when that time comes, you'll be considered never unfaithful for a minute. Last of all, the mother was put to death. But I have said enough about the Jews being tortured and being forced to eat the intestines of the sacrificial animals, which was pig. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahushai, Ba'ashim HaKakwadash, the water, Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahushai, for allowing this edifying lesson to come out. Lord willing, your sheep was edified, and that they can constantly think of the charagma that you allowed us to be able to know about through the prophets bringing forth prophecies. So with that, I want to say shalom, shalom, ball, ball.